One of the biggest misunderstandings in human resources is that payroll only means the generation of payslips. This is a misunderstanding. There is a ton of events that happen beforehand that can be cumbersome and make you prone to errors. At Odoo, we believe in making the best use of your time and talent. Hello, I'm Nico, and today we're going to see how Odoo can help you manage your employee and their contract, create work entries, and conveying easily this information to your payroll providers. Let's jump into the database. The first step is to manage your employees. Let's go into the employee application. We're going to see a bit more in detail with our consultant, Audrey Peterson. Let's click onto our employee form. You can see that the employee form is divided in two parts. You have the top part that is related to general information, such as her job position, she's a consultant, work mobile, phone and email, and so on. On the right side, you can define important information such as the department and the manager. The department will help you categorize your employee and search for them quite easily. If I go back, I can look for in management, professional services, and find back Audrey Peterson, which is under that department. Secondly, setting up the manager of Audrey Peterson can help Odoo provide you with a beautiful organizational chart that you can find with the smart button or through the menu right there. You can see that you have all your employees in a structured way, and we can find back Audrey Peterson, which is under Mark Demo. For any reason, if you want to just change the structure, you can just drag and drop your employee and put them under different person. It's as easy as it is. We can find back Audrey employee form by simply clicking on her. And we can see that now her manager has been changed through the chart. At the bottom part, you will find important information such as past experiences, education, and skills to follow the strengths of your employee. We know that Audrey has been working at Google for just a month. We can simply add an experience right there. The duration of the experience. She's been working just for October. You can apply, save and close, and you've added a past experience to your resume of your employee. We know as well that she's been working a bit with developers. So in order to follow the strengths of your employee, you can just add a programming language. For example, she's been working a bit on Python code, and she's a bit more than a beginner. Let's say she's elementary now. You can save and close, and right there, you've added a new skill to your employee. This is important for certain companies in order to provide a resume when you sell your consultant or your employee to your end customer. By just clicking on the gear right there, you can print the resume of all your employees, adapt them to the color scheme of your company, print. Let me just load the resume. And right there, you have a beautiful resume with all the experiences, past experiences, and current skills of your employee that you can give your end customer in order to maybe choose them on a project. Let's get back to Audrey. Important also are the private information of your employees. You can add, of course, important matters such as a private address, email, bank account, etc. to send different type of document to her email address or private address, but also any important payroll relevant information such as the marital status, number of children, also homework, distance. We can see that Audrey is married with 2 children, and she's working at a distance of 35 kilometers from home. Next to that, you have your employee completely done in your database. We need to let you know that she's currently working in your company. You can see that through the smart button, we can find back the contract of your employee by simply clicking on it. You arrive on the contract of your employee. We can see that Audrey Peterson has been working under this particular contract since the 1st of January. You can set up an end date, if any, of course, and you can set up a working schedule for that particular employee to fit exactly what's needed. Right now, we can see that Audrey is working at our company for a full week of 40 hours. Of course, those hours can be distributed quite differently in an infinite ways, of course, in over a week. So we can just click on the agenda and arrive on this particular calendar of those 40 hours a week and see how those hours are distributed. If we take Monday, for example, we can see that Audrey is working technically 4 hours in the morning from 8 to 12 and 4 hours in the afternoon from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. One quick new feature is that we've added a lunch break to be a bit more granular, and even though Audrey is working 8 hours the entire day, she still has 1 hour lunch break at noon. Let's get back on the contract by using the nice breadcrumbs right there. One of the most important parameters on the contract is the work entry source. This will let Odoo know how to generate the work entries in the payroll application. Right there we can see that Audrey has been set to working schedule. This means the work entries will be generated from the working schedule that's been set, which are 40 hours a week, 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the afternoon. Keep this in mind, this will be useful in a few minutes. The next two options for the sources of work entries are attendances and planning, which usually covers employee that will get paid hourly and will not have like a fixed wage. Attendance, this will be used from the application attendance. When the employee checks in and checks out, this will compute a total amount of hours that will be translated into work entry. We'll see that later. And for planning, this is basically the same, except we use a different app to plan resources as employee for duration, and that will create work entries. At the bottom part, you can enter relevant information such as the type of wage, the wage itself, and the yearly cost. In the contract details, we will not go into details right now. Still, it's important to know that this is integrated with the application document and sign. This means that you will be able to create PDF reports that your employee will be able to sign online through secure signature, because we log IP addresses. And of course, the manager or the HR responsible will also be able to sign this document online. You can see at the top that you have a status bar. This means your contracts have status. The first state is new, which is basically a draft state when you are currently working on a contract, or it's a contract in the future that will start in the next few weeks or months. Then you have running, which is basically a contract that states that your employee is working right now for your company. You have expired, which is any contract that have an end date, which is late, well, in the past, compare as in today. And you have cancel, which lets you keep track of all the contracts that you've maybe created but not signed yet. Still, you have an history. This status bar means that you can track history of contracts of all your employees. Right there, you have a smart button that states number 3. If I click on it, I arrive on all the contracts that have been created for this particular employee, which is Audrey. We can see, of course, that you have 2 expired and 1 running. You should not have, of course, more than one running contract at the same time. Why is this important? This is important to see the evolution of your employee in your company. You can find back the past job position, the past wages, the past yearly cost, and of course the past working schedule. This allows you to maybe negotiate future wages with your employee. Let's get back on the contract. Right now we have 1 employee and 1 running contract in your database. This means we have the 2 important ingredients to generate work entries. We can now jump onto the payroll application. We arrive on a useful dashboard created by our team with different information. You have many warnings which gives you on the fly important information on the status, such as maybe an employee without a running contract. This shouldn't be the case. You have also certain trends like employee cost or employee trends, and you have a quick fly note to type information at any time. We've discussed work entries, but there can be many work entry types. Let's just jump into the configuration to see what they look like. Work entries are basically a record of the time spent from employee at your company. Odoo provides you with 11 generic work entries that can technically cover most of the records that your employee can do at your company. Of course, if you have any need to create a new work entries, you can just click on Add, type any new type of information, I would type Corona. The payroll code is the internal reference of the work entry inside your company. You can type CRN for short. And one new field, which is a new feature that's really interesting, is the external code. This will allow you to adapt to an external provider, a pay provider, and use their own reference in order to match your software with theirs. Let's type, for example, CVD, which would be something that they use. You save this, yeah, and I've just and I've just already created it before, so this is why I had an error mistake, so I could not create the second one, but still, it's created. And one last thing is the color. The color which gives you an overview of the different type of work entries when you see the current month. We'll see just that right after. So you now have all the work entries that you would need in your company. You can see in a matter of seconds, you can just create any new one. Let's go to the work entries themselves. I'll remove the filter, we will discuss this afterwards. You now have an overview of all the work entries for the current month and by lines for all the employees split by day. Let's take an example that we've discussed earlier. We have Audrey Peterson. We can see that by day she has 2 work entries created. This match with the working schedule of 40 hours a week. If you click on it, you can find that she's been working from 8 to 12, makes sense, and in the afternoon from 1 to 5. This match a work entry source of working schedule. Maybe I can take another example for attendance. You can see that Abigail Peterson doesn't look like any other employee. It means that she has different type of work entries because she checks in and checks out at different time of the day, and it translates into different work entries. You can of course also have planning, and this is Jeffrey Kelly. He attended from 12 to 4, which is basically we plan him in the planning application and it translates into work entries. Of course, your employee will not work the entire month every month. It would be too perfect. Technically, you also have time off, which is when your employee doesn't work, but there can be many types of time off in the life of your employee. Thanks to the colors, you can see that everything that's not in gray is not attendance. So you can simply click on it and have an overview of what exactly is the time off used by the employee. You can see that Anita has a paid time off starting from the 22nd. On top of that, for the time off, you can follow validation rules, which means no employee can just take off sick days and paid leave at any time they want. Thanks to the integration with time off that you saw with Pierre earlier, you can see that the employee can request time off and then the HR responsible will be able to validate or not. This translates into a conflict and we arrive to that very nice default filter. What is a conflict? It means that you have 2 different types of work entries at the same time. It is not possible. An employee cannot work and be sick at the same time. And it shows with a nice little triangle and under the conflicting filters. Because this is important that every time you arrive on the work entries, you have this filter because you need to resolve this in order to move on with the payroll management. Let's open Mitchell Admin. And when you open it, you can see that Mitchell Admin has asked for compensatory days for 3 days. I can choose to approve or refuse. I'm in a good mood, I will approve the time off for Mitchell Admin. I can save and close. We can see that directly Mitchell has left the conflicting filters because he is not conflicting anymore. I should not have to see him again. But if I remove it, I can see that Mitchell Admin now has a work entry that's been converted into compensatory time off. So it's not conflicting anymore, but you have a new work entry set for him. Now we can go back to the conflicting and see it's left with Anita. I can open it. And I'm not in a good mood anymore. I can just refuse, save, and then it's not been transformed into the time off that she's requested. It goes back to attendance, and then of course it's your company policy to see how you will deal with the fact that she needs to work those 3 days. Now that we have everything ready, we can see that if we jump back again into the work entries, we have the useful filters. You have nothing conflicting. It means that you have every important information to transmit to your external provider for payroll system. You can simply in this view, make a quick filter on the current month because it's the end of the month. You want to transfer every information to your provider. You can select all the information. Don't forget to select. There's a quick, actually, shortcut. You can just click on the gear and click on Export All. I need to show you the file. And you have a nice file with all the information that you can send to your payroll provider. This is not formatted yet. Remember the external code that I talked about earlier? You will have the possibility to format your Excel file in order to meet the standards of your external provider. In order to do that, you can check all the work entries for this particular month, click Action, Export, and this is a quick wizard in order to give you the possibility to create your own export file in order to adapt them to special needs. I discussed the external code. My particular provider wants me to put it at the first place. It means that this particular information will be in the first column of the Excel file. I don't want the name, I don't want the state, and I want to add also the employee name. Okay, let's add him. This is something I don't want to do every month. You have the possibility to create a new template, call it maybe monthly export. You can save it and reuse this template every month so you don't have to do it all over again. You can export it, click on it, and you can see that you have a different type of file that you shows the format for, and you can see it starts with external code and it removed any field that you would not want. Let's get back. All right, this was all for the export. It's important to know that sometimes you will not be able to export the information and send it to your provider, so you might have to encode this information on the platform itself. Of course, you have this view right there, but this is a bit too messy. You can create a quick filter. This is what I usually suggest. And you type work entry type is not in attendance. This means that you will directly have an overview of only the differences that you can spot directly and encode them. You can see that Demo has certain days off that you can directly encode onto the platform itself. Now that we've done everything from the start, employee, contract, work entries, and export this information to your provider, it might seem scary. This is why I chose to create a quick example of a CEO that does not have enough time. It just has 2 employees. It takes him too much time. He does it all on paper and he wants to do it on software, but he's scared to move on. This is a fresh database. I will show you how easy it can be. Look at your watch, it's 15:22. I have a new database. I want to create 2 new employees. So I'll create Jim. I'll make a contract for him. So contract Jim. He started working for my company since the 1st of this month. I can just save it, make the contract running so he started working on my company, go back to the employee, make another employee, launch the contract, but he started working only for us since yesterday. So I can put it on the 8th. I save, I launch the contract directly, and now I have 2 employees, 2 running contracts. I can go directly to the payroll application, the work entries, and you can see that automatically I have all the work entries generated for this month and these 2 employees. Of course, they did not work the entire month. I need to add a paid leave for paid time off for Jim on that part, and I need to add a sick leave for Dwight because he was sick on the first day of work. I can just add him directly. You can see that there's conflicts. Of course, you cannot have a sick day and a work day at the same time. If I go back to work entries, I will have the conflict in filter. You can see how useful it is. I can remove any work entry that did not match. I remove all the attendance. Okay, it's left. It's not conflicting anymore. I did this. I remove. It's not conflicting anymore. Everything is ready. I can just create my file, export all, and voila, I have the file. That's loading, perfect. It's 15:24. in 2 minutes, of course this is a quick example, but in 2 minutes you've created employees, running contract, and you have a file ready to send to your payroll provider. As company grow in size and in number of employees, it has become more and more essential to be time efficient and not make any mistake. It is crucial that your employee needs to be paid on time and correctly. We saw two things today. Even though most companies outsource the generation of the payslip, they still can and have to follow every administrative information from the employee, contract, time management and work entries, and it can be done easily in Odoo. Secondly, even if you have a company that does not have the time, that cannot follow everything on the database, they can still be up and running for the mandatory work entry generation in a matter of minutes. It's 2023, we cannot allow people to miss on proper software management to manage their companies. I'm Nico, and this was Payroll Odoo application. Thank you for listening.
Hello. Okay.
Hey.
You can hear me, guys. So thank you very much, Nico, for all this information. I think you could convince the audience quite fast that it's super easy to generate work entries. So let me have a quick look at the questions we've got here. Can an employee get their pay slips? That's one of the questions. Can an employee get their pay slips?
Of course, this talk was to give the importance of the fact that you can generate work entries, but if you can, if you have a localization that you have already developed in Odoo, you will be able to generate pay slips and of course send the pay slip to your employees. Yes, this is feasible of course in Odoo.
Thank you. I've got plenty of questions popping up here. I see one. Why did you remove salary rules heritage between them? I don't know about this one. Maybe let's check if we have something else. Yeah, okay, some questions are not fully related to payroll, but another question is, for instance, can you work with priorities in days off? For instance, illness will always overrule the stated line.
The stated line?
Yeah, I mean, I think this one is more about is it possible to make sure that your system will create the work entries based on the priority of some type of time off? Like for instance, I assume in Belgium we have that case. It's when you have more than 30 sick leave days, at some point it needs to be taken over to a specific kind of time off. So yes, it's something related to the localization in this case. What happened if you have many employees? The Gantt view, will it support it for the? You showed the Gantt view.
Yeah.
So if you have many employees, does it still work?
It will support it. You will be able to search through your employees to find them quite easily, and we can group them by department in order to have a quick view of the employee that you want to see. Yes, it will support it.
Another question: is it possible to mass upload employee documents? Not totally related to payroll, but can you upload employee documents?
You can upload documents onto the document app, link them to the employee, and it will be available for the employee to check, of course, on their portal. Yes.
I see some other questions, again, not really related to the talk.
But anyway, for any question that we do not answer right now, there's an Ask Me Anything right afterwards, and there's a booth for HR. If you have any question that are specific, you can of course come see us.
Yeah, I mean, we are staying here for answering the questions during the Ask Me Anything session. So don't hesitate. I think we will just take all of these questions and answer them by then. I'm just checking if we have anything else. Can we create payslips based on employee timesheet? So also, if you want to generate a payslip, I guess you need to have work entries. Is it possible
Yes.
to do it with timesheet?
It's only possible to do it with attendance right now. Attendance,
Mhm.
working schedule, and planning. So
Yeah,
it's not possible
as you've
to
shown, yeah,
timesheet
indeed,
right now.
indeed. I see some persons still typing, so if you have got some more time, let's see what they ask. Yeah, here we've got the question again. It's related to timesheets. People are stating that it is important to pay based on their working hours and not the working schedule. So how would you solve that?
This is absolutely true. I would personally solve it through the attendance application, so
Yeah.
that the employee can just check in and check out when they start and end working, and it will be correctly. So you will pay your employee based on the effective time and not
Mhm.
and not on a static schedule. However, for the people that want to match the timesheet, we can still have a basic reporting that match the time done by all your employees through timesheet and the time that they should work, and you can base your salary on that.
Mhm. Yeah. Now we are talking about indeed the easiness of creating work entries. I know some of our clients also use the timesheet application to export all the data. It's just that you are still missing one or two fields, like you showed. I think what they need is basically the external code, probably.
It's just the external code and the duration.
Mhm.
Absolutely, yes.
Yep. Do we've got more time for questions? Okay, so thank you very much, Nico.
My pleasure.
And congratulations again.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks.